Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our pre-match press conference with our Director of Rugby, Jake White. We'll go ahead and open the floor for questions.
Jake?
Yes, Jan.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. I think if we can start, how important does winning become at this stage of a competition, or is it all part of a process?
No, Jan, I mean, winning stays important. It's like what I've always said, you play rugby to win those games, you know, and obviously we haven't won on tour yet. We've got a chance now in Wales. Yeah, and it's not part of the process at all that you end up losing. Part of the process is that you end up growing as a team, and hopefully you grow while you're winning as well. So, yeah, Jan, it's another challenge for us in another country on a different surface. I mean, you're all aware it's a 4G pitch. The first time we would have been playing on a 4G pitch as well. So, yeah, different challenge, different test for us, but I'm sure, you know, we're looking forward to it.
What are the aspects of the game that you perhaps focus on this week that you need to grow most, or that you feel the team needs to grow most in this week?
I think the most important thing is how we adapt to this new surface. I mean, if I watch the teams, the pace is very quick, you know, so a lot of things change, you know, the way you attack the breakdown, the numbers you have on your feet. You know, if you commit too many and the ball pops out and they get quick ball, then you've got a problem, because the reality is that the game is so quick, you don't get to fill the field. But at the same time, if you just give, you know, opposition the ball all the time, then it's also very difficult because you never catch up. So yeah, so basically the decision making and understanding when to go in and when not to go in, and when, you know, to make sure we got numbers on our feet from a defensive point of view, and then attacking wise to adapt according to, you know, I suppose to play as quickly as we can as well, because obviously the quicker you play, the more you test the defense. Yeah, so I suppose those are the two things, Jan. You know, I think that, you know, is understanding that this sort of surface is a surface in the game where it can challenge you both defensively and attacking wise. Yeah, and we got to make sure that attack wise we stretch the defense, and defensively we find a way in which we don't get too stressed.
In Cardiff, they historically quite a powerful team. I know their most recent history is probably not the best in Europe, but what do you expect from Cardiff?
Yeah, look at that team. You know, you got Liam Williams and Josh Adams, and, you know, VD as a British Lion, and, you know, and Priestland at fly half. I mean, Welsh rugby strong as well, you know. So, I mean, they got 4 regions. Regions are strong. You saw what happened on the weekend. Dragons came within a point of beating Leinster, you know. So, I mean, you know, I'm expecting exactly the same. You know, this competition doesn't get any easier, Jan. You know, this competition is a tough competition. Cheetahs and Kings came and played in this competition, and, you know, saw how difficult it was to compete against, you know, sides that are well prepared, well coached, and you know, and obviously a lot of international experience as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm expecting another tough game. You know, hopefully, as I said, it's a different environment, different challenge, different country. You know, been nice and fresh this week. We've obviously tweaked a little bit about how we wanted to train, and spoken a little bit about what we want to get out of this game, from a conditioning point of view, and from a preparation point of view. And, you know, I'm hoping that sort of detail we put in this week is going to pay some fruits for us at the end of the weekend.
Jake, it's quite a new look backline that you've chosen for tomorrow. Is it just simply a case 4G pitch, or are you trying to get your quickest guys into the team basically, or is it a bit more complex than that?
Ken, you know, it's funny. So I wanted to get Stedman a chance this week as well. Stedman's just, unfortunately, he's got a tight hamstring 2 days ago, and I really don't want to risk it. I mean, again, this 4G pitch, it's quick. It's really quick, you know. And if your hamstring's a bit tight, you know, what you can't afford is that I mean, if he tears his hamstring, he'll be out for a long time, you know. So I would like him as well, play him and Cornal together at centers. But as it stands, it hasn't worked out. But so to answer your question, a little bit of fortunate that these guys are all ready this weekend. A guy like Kirby coming back and a guy like, obviously David Creel, who missed out last week. And then, if hopefully Stedman was there, then it would have been a nice sort of almost a sevens lookalike backline that got feet and can step a bit on that surface. But so what I'm saying, Ken, in a long roundabout way, it's also timing. It's probably worked out that they're already, and hopefully, having never played it with this backline on that surface, I'm quite keen to see how it turns out on Saturday with that kind of backline running, on a harder surface.
Jake, and Cornal back at 13, obviously did really well in the centres, mostly at 12 for you.
Yes.
Earlier.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, Ken, so as I said, if Stedman had played, then Cornal would have, and he did. He trained a lot at 12 as well this week with Stedman there. And then as it turned out, putting Harold back at 12 is obviously an accomplished 12 centre. He's played a lot for us. So it's a combination that, and Cornal's versatility of being able to play wing 13 and 12 is obviously important for us as well. So, yeah, Ken, I mean, as I said, I would have known what to expect if we had played Harold and Lionel, because they've played lots together, or whether it was Stedman and Cornal at 12 and 13. This combination probably hasn't played as much as all the others. But, what's exciting is it'll give us a chance to see how this combination works.
Jake, just as a follow-up, I'm looking at the team sheet. Perhaps a handful of players would have played on this surface before. Do you know exactly how many of you guys have played on artificial surfaces?
Yeah, look, I mean, a lot of them haven't. But to be fair, which has been quite nice, part of our prep this week, Jan, is we've been training out of a place called the Vale of Glamorgan, and we've been training on a synthetic pitch. So we've probably had the whole week to experience. It's not a 4G, but it's synthetic, and it gives us a feel for what it's going to be like. So, it's not ideal. We haven't played a game on it, not everybody, but at least we've had sort of this week to prepare, scrumming, mauling, running around, obviously kicking, the ball bouncing, etc., giving us a chance also to see what it's like on that sort of synthetic pitch.
Just for us ignorant who's never been, the last time I saw anything tartan was back in college days. What is the difference between a synthetic pitch and a 4G?
Well, basically what it works is that one is just, synthetic, fully synthetic. The other one is a mixture of grass and synthetic together. And I think it's something to do with the base as well, Jan. So, whether one is predominantly clay-based or whether the one is, a mixture of whatever. I think the bottom line is, it's just a very different feel. It's a very different, the pace of the game and the way you can, because it's so even and so flat, that you can actually, players can really push themselves. So I think, again, you'd find that that's why teams that play on those sort of surfaces, their sort of tempo, they push tempo big time. They push, the pace of the game in terms of outworking people as opposed to going through them. So, sometimes, again, the skill level is also, Jan, sometimes helps as well, because there's not much other factors that influence the ball. And it's probably, if there's no inclement weather and there's no rain and, no sort of dew or whatever, then it's also one of those pitches where you can, it's almost, I suppose it helps with everything. It helps with your skill level, helps with the accuracy, it helps with, with a breakdown in terms of the ball, being presented on the same surface all the time as, again. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those, I'm sure as it's going along, they're trying to find the perfect surface. Some would say, and I've read the articles where some players are a bit unhappy with the synthetic because of the fact that it doesn't give as much to the scrum and to the maul and to the, your footwork. But, again, that's a challenge that our players will probably have to adapt to. And I'm hoping that this week training on a synthetic pitch, that they would have a feel for, that it's not grass, or it's not, it's not in the mud, or it's not on surfaces we generally play in South Africa.
Is it the actual old Arms Park with the synthetic pitch or the 4G pitch?
100%. Yeah, it's the old Cardiff Arms Park, and it's got a synthetic, or not synthetic, got a 4G pitch.
And what's the atmosphere like there? I mean, the last time it was very different. I'm talking about in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, look, I mean, the one thing that is significantly different, not only here, but everywhere, is that the smaller crowds are, they make a noise of massive crowds, and they also in the UK have been kept out of coming to watch sporting events. So you can imagine last week was the first weekend that the Connacht supporters were allowed to come and support their team. And I'm not sure, I think again, Cardiff now, if it's not the first, it's relatively new for the supporters to come as well. So, they've been waiting for a long time to get into the stadiums and make a noise and support their team. So the atmosphere, as you would know, Jan, in Wales, you don't need too much. I mean, they love their rugby. And Cardiff, is one of the towns where, I mean, right next to the Principality Stadium or the Millennium Stadium, as it was known, you can imagine it's rugby. It's really rugby country, yeah.
I was going to say, you're going to take your boys for a walk from the cathedral to the stadium. I mean, that's the best walk in Cardiff ever. 100%,
100%. I'm sure they've done it a few times. We're living in the middle of Cardiff, and a couple of guys have walked into the castle and had a look, and through the streets and seen the pictures of all the rugby people, all over the town, and in all the shops, and everything is rugby. So it's been nice for these young guys as well, Jan, for them to experience, the sort of rugby feel of a country like Wales as well.
So there's a proper rugby atmosphere for a change.
Yeah. And, I'm hoping that, as I said, some of these youngsters, I look at a guy like Keegan Johannes, he's on the bench this weekend. I mean, what a tour he's had. He's playing on Cardiff Farms Park tomorrow. He played at the Aviva Stadium against Leinster a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the guy's literally just come out of the junior ranks. And, it's wonderful for him to experience that. It's wonderful for him to, to see the walkways and all the sort of history that's on the, little photos that are in and around the shops, Graham Price and, all the sort of legends. I mean, there's all of them there. Gareth Edwards statue in the one shopping center. I mean, it's real rugby country, this, and it's nice. It's nice for me to be able to share that with some of these youngsters, so that at least there's a bit of gees in the team as well.
Jake, that first half against Connacht, you guys did pretty well. Was there enough there for you to feel like the guys are on the right track for this weekend?
Yeah, Ken, again, part of that Connacht game, I told you before the game, and it's not being clever, that winning or losing the toss was like a cricket game, like batting on a wet wicket. The reality was going to be difficult. Once we lost the toss, they jumped at saying they'll play, into the wind, up the hill first half, because they knew from people that have, they trained there and played there, so they know that ground better. So, 10-7 when they ran into the change room, I mean, having chatted to them afterwards, they were very confident they'd done enough to win the game because of the fact that the conditions were going to change so much. But there was enough there, Ken, for us in the first half to see, where we kept the ball, things that I suppose you wouldn't be aware of. But that game, 42 minutes game, ball in play, 42 minutes in those conditions. I think we went to 13, 14 phases about 5 times in that weather. There were times where, as I said, there were a lot of things we did right in that game against, trying conditions or in trying conditions. So I'm hoping now that this weekend there's not too many outside factors in terms of weather and rain, etc., and we play on a 4G pitch. And if we can just transfer that sort of that sort of composure with the ball in hand and concentrate defensively on not making 1 or 2 silly reads, which we did this weekend. But then we would have grown, kid. Then we would have grown as a team, and we'll give ourselves a chance this weekend to obviously to get a result.
Jake, apologies if you've covered that earlier. I've listened to one of my colleagues last night in a discussion program referring to, amongst others, the Bulls' conditioning, and that it is not up to par, and that would be one of the reasons why you're not faring well in the last 2 games there. I would like to have your comment on that, please.
Simon, it's interesting. I've been in rugby, I think now for nearly 40 years. I started coaching in 1982, and every time you lose, it's because the guys are unfit, so that's always the first thing that comes up. If you consider, and I'm going to answer it by saying, I think when we were beating teams in every second half in the Currie Cup, and we were scoring 40 points in the second halves of every Currie Cup, and we were, as I said, finishing off strong and scoring points in the back end of the games, then no one mentioned anything about fitness. So yeah, I don't think there's anything. Our fitness is fantastic. I think our medical staff and our conditioning staff are some of the best that I've worked with. You know, a guy like Andre Fulstiert and Ippon, who's a Japanese conditioning coach that I've known and brought into the system. Yeah, I've got no doubt, Simon, that conditioning is not the fact. Maybe there's an element of fatigue, maybe, and I'm not even talking about physical fatigue, maybe mental fatigue. I think it's very important for the journalists to understand. I did a sum the other day, and in the last 52 weeks up to this week, so we started the 25th of September. We started with a Super Saturday. In 52 weeks, which is a calendar year, we played 40 fixtures and had 2 cancelled on the Friday. So we cancelled Griquas on the Friday and we cancelled the Cheetahs on a Friday because of COVID, which means that barring the game, we've actually been training from Monday to Friday for 42 out of the 52 weeks. And mentally, that is incredibly draining. I mean, it's yes, we love it. And yes, we never moan about being on the rugby field. And after COVID, having been able not to play, Simon, we love the fact that we can play rugby. But, you know, you ask anybody that's in sport to back up and get yourself up for, you know, 42 out of 52 weeks mentally is also tough, you know, and to be fair, you know, it's tough, but we've enjoyed the bulk of those 52 weeks. You know, we won 3 competitions or 4 competitions. You know, we've won much more than we've lost. So to get up every week and get yourself ready physically and mentally has probably been easier for us than other teams. So yeah, I suppose I'm talking a lot about it, Simon, but I've got no doubt that conditioning wise, we got the best conditionings. Our guys are fit. Our guys are, you know, medically, we've got lots and lots of guys that are 100% medically to play, which again is a massive bonus to our conditioning and our medical staff in getting players ready to play. So yeah, I wouldn't buy the fact that we are unfit. I mean, we far from unfit. We probably not, you know, probably not where we want to be now. And I'm talking about after 42 weeks of 52 playing. But I mean, that goes with the territory as well.
Jake, sorry, Ken. So I sort of follow up.
Yep.
Jake, when you arrived at Loftus, you would have been aware that the Bulls had a bit of a reputation for not traveling well overseas.
Yes.
You know, that Super Rugby showed that.
Yes.
And people just thought they're just guys who don't travel well. You're not picking up any of that sort of vibe at the moment. It's probably too early to tell anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, Ken, I mean, look, I think historically, playing away from home for any team is difficult. You know, I mean, it's a competition where, you know, the interesting thing about this competition, I think out of the first 2 rounds, there have been 3 away game wins, and the 3 away game wins, 2 were in Zebra and 1 was against Dragons and Leinster, which in itself, you know, Leinster, as we've said, is one of the strongest teams in Europe. So if you consider, that means, you know, 88% of the teams have won at home. And that again just proves the point how tough it is for any team to even play away from home, you know. So I wouldn't put the Bulls in and ring fence them and say, you know, when I was at the Brumbies, we went for the longest run away from home record. When I was at Montpellier, we won, I think, 9 or 11 out of the 13 games we won away from home. I think again, it's, I mean, to get 2 Irish teams straight up like we did, Connacht and Leinster, is always going to be a tough ask for a tour. You're talking about consistency, Ken. Leinster top team in Pro 14 or Magnus League or Celtic League. You talk about Connacht, who won this competition a couple of years back, and you're talking about an Irish system that's very, very strong. When you look at what Rassie does now with the national setup, is almost, you know, learn from what's working in the Irish setup. You know, the Munster, the central contracting, the Leinsters, the 4 provinces, the coaching systems, the academy systems, etc., the player identification system they use, EPD squads. So again, I'm saying it to you, Ken. We were always going to be up against 2 really good Irish teams as well. Not taking any away from the fact it's not going to get any easier. Cardiff will be strong, you know, as they've proved over the years. Edinburgh have been, you know, they've got a lot of Scottish players in their setup as well. So Yeah, I'm not for 1 minute thinking that, the Bulls have fallen back into a rut where they can't tour. This is a very, very different tour to what we used to. It's completely different for everybody. It's completely different even for the supporters to have a look and see. We're used to watching Wellington Hurricanes in the Cape Town, and we're used to watching Crusaders in Christchurch, and there's a massive difference to what they're seeing on TV now. But at the same time, Ken, it's exciting. So we got to get it right. I mean, we've got a chance tomorrow against Cardiff, and hopefully we'll get an away win, and then things will, obviously kick on.
Jan, you had a question?
Yeah, sorry. It's very similar to what Ken was going to ask. Jake, what I wanted to ask is Henning with you guys, or are you still in touch with Henning?
Yeah, shame. Henning, as I said, Jan, I mean, he's got other commitments. I mean, he can't be full-time with us. And he had to get back. I think he's got 1 or 2 business commitments that he's got. But I mean, he's never far away. He's always sending messages on the group and motivational comments, or little triggers of getting players to understand that people back home are still supporting us. So it's not a case of because he's not here, everyone's not motivated or everyone's not lost focus. I mean, it's sometimes also nice to not have him around, and I'm talking about because it challenges us to not always take for granted that you're going to have a guy motivating you to play rugby. You got to play rugby because it's also fun.
Yeah, I was about to say, because obviously Henning's got his own quirks and unique ways of keeping the guys fresh. And perhaps that's the missing ingredient.
Yeah, but saying that, Jan, I mean, as I said,
Okay, it seems like we might have lost Jake there. Let me just see if we can get him back on.
up there, you got me. I just broke up for a while there, but I'm just supposed, in summary, just saying I want players to play rugby because it's fun, and I want them to enjoy it and not feel like the whole world's on their shoulders after 2 rounds of a long competition.
Thank you so much, Coach Jake. Last question, Jan?
No, it's all good. I was going to say thanks.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Coach Jake, thank you very much, and all the best for tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jake. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thanks, gentlemen. Bye.